Awesome. This is Angelica Corral with What in the World Events. And today we have a wonderful, amazing guest, my friend Rick Najera. He's got on the interrogation lights on him, but that's okay. We're just happy that he's here.
I figured I'm going to be interrogated, so I'm used to it.
We're gonna do an interrogation here. So he's a Hollywood producer, also a writer, screenwriter, script writer, actor, you name it. I know I missed something there, right?
Too many
Author,
jobs.
author.
Too many jobs. It's too many jobs. Author, everything. I've kind of I've had to do it all to survive. You know,
Yes.
a big part of it is if someone's it's like I'm Mexican American, so it's kind of like the guys that go. You see a guy show up in the truck. He's like, "Oh, who's got strong arms? Come on in, jump in the truck. Can you do drywalling? Can you do plumbing? Can you do that?" So I was the one that says, "Yeah, I can do writing. I can do producing. I can do directing. Whatever you need." So that was necessity. The necessity is the mother of all invention for jobs, and that's how I worked it.
Absolutely. That's how it goes, right?
Mm-hmm. It
So
really does.
I love it though because I think in everything that you do, you bring this creative vibe, and you have such a wonderful creativity because you worked on some of the writing for In Living Color, correct?
Yes. Yeah, I did In Living Color. I did Mad TV. I did East Los High for Hulu. I did Nothing Like the Holidays, a film with John Leguizamo and Luis Guzman. I've worked a lot of different shows and done a lot of different work.
So,
So,
so who was your favorite people to work with? I know you get that question all the time.
um, it depends because I meet people at different parts of their career. So I can
Mhm.
meet someone at the end of their career and they tend to be nicer and looking back. I meet people in the beginning of their career and they tend to be either arrogant or scared someone's going to call them a fraud and ended it all. So they're insecure. And then I've met people, they're arrogant throughout most of their career and they're not fun to work with. You just want to work with people who simply are this or nice. Just,
Mhm.
just you treat people how you want to be treated. And I've always been treated people well and been kind and never forgot my roots, never forgot where I came from. And that's a big part of what being an artist is. Um, and understand that some people will hate you and some people will love you and some critics will think you're the greatest and some critics will think you're the worst. And if you believe the ones who say you're the greatest, you have to believe the ones who say you're the worst. So I tend to be my biggest critic. It's me. I look at myself and go, what can I do better? And no matter where you are in your career, there always will be someone more famous than you, or greater than you, or you're talented than you. It's a cycle, and I think you just make it about the work and doing the best work you can. You have to open yourself to let creation come in,
Mhm.
and don't think you've got the best idea because it could be an idea from a grip or an electrician or someone, or you don't know who's got the great idea. So I think that's the way I'd say is the universe is talking to you, and it comes through different people that will give you advice. I've heard good advice.
That's awesome, and it takes humility to get advice and use it, right?
Yeah, but I think what people don't realize is we're all humble. If you really examine your life and you look at people around you, there's a it's the simplicity of life. We're all going to go back to the dust,
Mhm.
and there's something higher and better for us. But remember, there's someone in a worse position than you or a better position than you, and you have to have gratitude. Thank God for everything you've got. Remember that more than everything you don't have. Like right
Ab
now, I have a
Mhm.
watermelon drink, and I feel incredibly happy. And I've got some lighting, so um, that's my secret to life. Enjoy the life you've been given.
Yes, absolutely. The watermelon, is so, refreshing, right?
Oh yeah.
So
I mean,
I
I went to the walk at the harbor today.
Oh, nice. Tell me about it, my friend.
I went for about a 2 mile walk with Herbert Seguenza from Culture Clash. He was a
Mhm.
good artist, and we walked and we talked.
Are you in San Diego right now, or are
Yeah,
you in
right now I'm in San
Oh,
Diego.
nice, nice.
San Diego. So I think Friday I'll be in LA, and maybe till next week. I travel a lot,
Mhm.
so it depends. And I think the 15th I'll be back here because I want to do a new video about writing, right? Explain writing as courses. That's my plan.
That is awesome. Well, keep us posted. Are you gonna do um, any workshops? Because I
Yeah,
remember you used to do
it,
the workshops.
I
I'm
always
in
do.
for that.
Okay, so we'll starts. It's going to start like October 25th. Um, and so I need people to start sending me emails saying they want to be in it, um, and they have time, and we can. What I do is I teach people to be themselves, and I take writing and I demystify it. And
Mhm.
I just did a TED talk recently on writing, and
Hey.
um, and I think it's the way I look at it is writing is a purpose, and it should be your purpose to archive your life and tell your life, and that's why it's important. The writing can save your life, and that's my course. Writing will
Mhm.
save your life, and people have to look at writing as a fun thing, and that's important. That this should be fun. Creativity should be fun, and I always tell you, don't worry about what you're going to write because it will find you. A good story will always find you. You just have to be open to that story and willing to with humility and vulnerability and truth, tell it.
Absolutely. And you know what? We have a few writers in the room. Annie is here. He's a writer but also publisher. He says it's great to be with you, Rick and Miss Angelica. Noni, she's my friend from San Francisco. She says hi everyone. Uh,
Ainoni.
Jose Angel Pereira Rumbig, he wrote a book recently about his ordeal in Venezuela as
Mm,
getting kidnapped, right?
it's great.
Yeah.
Sometimes stories come to you whether you want them or not. That's,
Yes.
but what's great about it is I wrote a story about me. I'd gone through 3 brain surgeries and was in a coma.
Mm, mhm,
I look good now, but I looked pretty bad before. And but that was a story that came to me.
mhm,
It sometimes by chance or sometimes by design. But what a wonderful thing to write about your kidnapping and to claim your life back. Is that must be a great feeling. And that's the thing about writing is that all these stories are around us, and whether they happen to us or we heard they happen to someone else, it's a question of being in the moment. It's called mirror neurons, and I
mhm,
talk about that.
mhm,
And there's a famous story about an Italian scientist in Italy, and he was
mhm,
studying a monkey's brain, a rhesus monkey, and he had all these electrodes tied to his brain, and he could tell if the monkey was feeling pleasure or all these different things in certain parts of his brain would be there, and it was mapped his entire brain. So every day the scientist would come in and give the monkey a peanut.
mhm,
One day, the scientist came in, and instead of giving the monkey a peanut, he ate the peanut himself.
mhm,
The same pleasure neurons that happened to the monkey when he ate the peanut went off in his head when the scientist ate the peanut. So, in other words, he mirrored what was happening there. And mirroring is, in a strange way, the Mayans used the term in Lakesh, you are my other self. And that's what mirror neurons are. We learn through ourselves as imagine ourselves as another person or another thing. We feel compassion. In
mhm,
fact, people who go see theater are more likely to give money to charities than people who don't because they're learning compassion by seeing themselves in other people's lives. In other
mhm,
words, when we read a story as Mark Twain, we're Huck Finn going down the Mississippi River or
mhm,
Anne Frank hiding in an attic. These are the
mhm,
stories. In fact, the earliest stories took place in um, in paintings on walls, cave paintings.
mhm.
So an early
Abs
mankind or humankind or womankind was in that cave painting, and they were painting on the wall in a dark cave. And some of the earliest paintings were of cave lions. That's where caves lived. Lions lived in those caves. They would
Mhm,
be there painting. And if you look at that painting today, you imagine what the artist felt. And when you imagine what the artist felt and you feel what the artist felt, and that means over a millennium, 28,000 years, you were feeling what the other person felt. The same awe of that lion, hearing the lions growl, seeing their stealth moves, all that, you're feeling what he's feeling or she is painting.
Mhm.
And that's amazing thing about mirror neurons, how we learn. And we learn. And the strangest thing humans do is we tell stories. Stories are the earliest things we do. You think of that. When you're a kid, you need a story. Here's a story about a big bad witch. Or here's a story about a prince. Here's a story about a princess. All these are stories, and in them, you learn lessons. And the story says they lived happily ever after. You have actually completion, and that's not what we get as artists normally. We don't get completion.
Mhm.
You don't say
Mhm.
it's finished
Mhm.
because we're always growing and evolving in such a different way that we don't get completion. Completion, if you look at, they lived happily ever after, that prince is going to get old. He's going to get decrepit. He's going to die. He's going to have arthritis. He's going to move slower. And maybe the princess will leave him and maybe she won't. There isn't a happily ever after. So we long for that. That's why we write stories. We want a world in order that we can see it and understand it. And we want to tell our stories, our personal stories, so we can leave a record, just like that ancient painter who painted lions on a cave in France 28,000 years ago. That painter lives again. His experience lives again, and we live again when we experience it. That's how we relate to fellow humans through mirror neurons.
That's so interesting. I love that. And the Reese monkey.
Yes, Reese's monkey.
Reese's, just
Reese's.
like just like the candy.
I think I'm pronouncing it right, but I'm not sure.
No, you are. One time I sent my friend a meme of a Reese's monkey, and I put a Reese's on his head. But anyways,
The Reese's monkey, yes, the Reese's monkey, the Italian scientist. I mean, the weird part of that story, I didn't know Italian scientists were experimenting on monkeys and studying the brain. Just seems really weird. And I expected more like cooking schools and pasta and art, but there's
man, you're getting
Italian
me
scientists.
hungry.
Yeah, but an Italian scientist, I remember it, and the story of the peanut. And
That is.
that's stories. Stories
Mhm.
are are part of our life. It's our earliest memories are stories. And that's the earliest memories. That's how we entertain each other.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So that's why I love writing.
I started loving it too. I just finished writing in an anthology, and I had so much fun. I felt that's not enough room for me to write. I need to expand it. So
You took my writing course. I remember.
yes, I took your writing course, and I loved it. It
Yeah.
it was so much fun. And make sure everybody to connect with Rick, because he's going to have another writing course coming up soon.
Yes,
But
I.
I see a few people in here in the room. I see Matthew Thomas, and I see OG Cartoon. OG is a homie.
OG
So,
cartoon.
uh-huh.
Now that's a homie's name because OG, original gangster cartoon became a thing. But I mean, look, I'm grown up Mexican. It's strange because we're very colorful people, and so you visit cousins. Someone's named Flaca and there's a Gordo and Pino and all these things, but those are
Mhm.
terms of endearment. But they also that name tells a story.
Yes.
OG cartoon is a story in that name, so you've got a story, and everyone and the people I meet, people tend to have a lot of stories.
Mhm.
So it doesn't matter where you're from, you probably have a story that no one's ever heard before. That's why I like teaching writing.
Uh-huh. And I love learning it from you.
Ah, thank you, thank you.
You're welcome. LinkedIn user says free flow.
Free flow. That's the name. Free flow. I like it. It's a name and an action. Free flow.
Brian Being says hello everyone. Um and Hola Angelica Peru presente. Okay, Mr. Oyola's in the house.
Peru's here.
Uh-huh. From
Best,
Peru.
best ceviche.
Yes, I love the ceviche. And
Hmm.
their pisco sours are great. Papa
Yeah.
la huancaína. I already told him. I
Hmm.
gotta taste that. Oh, Jose says, "Hey Rick, believe me that after going to any big ordeal as your brain surgeries or my kidnapping or any other big ordeal, it comes a great story and a powerful testimony, but it is you, the way you decide to tell your story as a victim or as a victor. And that
Yes,
is what is going to make the real change."
well
Nice.
said. And that's the thing is it, any character you meet, no, doesn't think of themselves as a victim.
Mhm.
You know, any character you meet doesn't think they're in a situation that's impossible. Because the need to survive is
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
strong. I mean, I think about those kids who crashed on a mountain in the Andes. That soccer
Yes.
team, they survived.
Mhm.
Now that says your character. You have an objective. You see what you want to do to survive, to live. Your obstacle can be huge. The Andes Mountains up there with no clothes, winter clothing, and you have to get on down to the Amazon and get help. Those are huge obstacles. And that makes great drama. That makes a great story because
Mhm.
all our stories are that way. So I applaud you with the kidnapping and surviving and becoming a victor, not a victim.
And he's a great person too. We got to get together and do an audio or even another room like this together because
Sure.
it's really interesting. And Miguel Angel also has a really interesting story, and he's also one of the authors in the anthology Rebel with the with the cause that I'm in.
Mm.
So, and I know that you have your book. You want to talk a little bit about your book?
Which one? Almost White or
All of them.
got a lot of books. There's one book that I'm particularly proud of is with Dr. Sanjeev Chopra from Harvard
Hmm.
called Ignite the Fire Within. It's about writing and speaking.
Hmm.
And we wrote that book over COVID. COVID hit. He's from Harvard Medical, and he was telling me, "Hey, this COVID is going to be very bad, and
Hmm.
because it's bad, um, we're going to have to hunker down for a while."
Hmm.
And at first, I kind of didn't believe him. I was like, "What does that mean? What do you mean?" Didn't even understand. He's like, "Well, we may be quarantined, and you're in California, and I'm here in the East Coast." He goes, "Why don't we actually start to do something?" And we both believe in the power of yes. If you say
Hmm.
something and you go, "Yes, we can do it," that
Hmm.
answers the question. And the idea of improv, when you negate and say no, it stops the scene. So you don't go, if someone goes, "Hey, it's a huge pirate ship," and you go, "No, there's not," scene's done. But he goes,
Hmm.
"That's the biggest pirate ship I've ever seen." That's Captain Bly's pirate ship. Oh, hasn't been in these waters for over 20 years. What's he doing? It all becomes a story. It has to be about
Arr,
looking for,
matey.
yeah, so you have to find out what it means. And that's the power of yes. So he said, "Rick, we should do something."
Mhm,
And I said,
mhm.
"Yes." He goes, "Let's write a book." And I said, "Yes, let's write a book." So we wrote a book over COVID during that time. And you can actually go to Amazon and get it. Amazon.com. You can get the book,
Yay.
Ignite the Fire Within. But that's a story of two men that were 5,000 miles apart during COVID, decided to write a book. So there's always a story within a story within a story. We are
I love
all,
the book. It's an excellent book, by the way.
oh, thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a book you can go to Amazon and order it. Ignite the Fire Within by Dr. Sanjay Chopra and Rick Najera. It's on Amazon, and that's a great book. Um, that's it's great to be a writer because the stories are all unique and different. The
Mhm.
way they're delivered is different.
Yes.
Whether it's a book form, a movie, a TV show, a play, and I've done all the different forms of it. Um, and it's
What's your
taught me a lot.
favorite?
Well, not movies because they take a long time to make. TV, sometimes something you write, you'll see in a week, so that's a good feeling.
Mhm.
I think stage, where it's instantaneous. If you tell a
Improv?
joke, yeah, improv, stage, or if I was doing stand up, I would hear a response from the audience, and that's more where we hope to do, where we feel to do.
Uh,
It's the old thing of going back to the story of telling the story around the dinner table or the campfire.
uh-huh.
We like audiences. Audiences become the third member of that story, and the
Yes.
person is listening and feeling and the emotions they're feeling. So I like that. It's immediate. something that's I've written, and it takes a long time because if you ever write even a screenplay, someone has to read it, and it takes a while. And some people, depending on how fast they read or how slow they read, and did they read it correctly? Because I heard the voice of the person, they may have not heard the same voice. So as a Latino, if I write a story and I say, this guy, this OG says these lines, he says, "Hey,
Yes.
how you doing? What's up?" Now, someone might read it, "Hey, how are you doing? What is up?" And not get, "What's up?" They're
What's
not going to hear
up?
the voice, "What's up?" Or the intonation of the voice. How you
Mhm.
doing? Is that a threat? How you doing? Is that a question? All those things. So they're not in that. So a story is told secondhand almost. The
Mm,
audience has to interpret it.
absolutely.
So when you're writing a story, you're hoping the audience interprets it correctly. Because we have accents and voices that are so
Mm.
unique,
Mhm.
and we can hear it. And like characters I meet. I was shooting a film, and I remember a character I met in the film. And there was a guy who was shooting in the white fence area, white fence gang. And I
Mhm.
was shooting there. So I'm doing a bad movie playing a cholo. This is me playing a cholo is pretty impossible. But they
I
don't, they
wanna
don't do
hear
that.
it.
Oh yeah,
Orale, Holmes.
Bill Holmes, what's up? So it was first of all written by a white guy, so it's not great dialogue. And I'm in a back alley. And I'm doing a scene, and there's a
Uh-huh.
there's a black security guard next to me, and all of a sudden I hear, "Hey man, he ain't no gangbanger, he ain't no cholo, man, he ain't no man, he ain't no," all this stuff.
Uh-huh.
And I look up, and there's these guys, and they were the white fence, and they were showing me their tats. They're like, "Hey, white fence," and doing all this stuff. And I turn to the black security guard and I go, "Hey, is there gonna be any trouble here?" And the guy goes, "Man, there's gonna be trouble. It's all about you because I'm out of here. They're paying me minimum wage. Fuck that, I'm gone." So I'm like, okay. So I go, "Hey guys," you know, this kind of nerdy white voice. So, "Hey guys," I was like, "Hey, you guys want to take a picture with me?" And they became children. "Yeah, man, yeah, go down." They taking the picture with me.
He put the gang signs up?
Yeah, gang signs up, and I got to know him. One of the guys was named Little Man, and
Uh-huh.
Little Man was a total gangster.
Mhm.
He was because he's little. He's like, "Hey, call me Little Man. What you ever need anything, you let me know, man. I'll cook you up. You want like cocaine, a grenade, anything." So it was like, wow, it's a grenade or cocaine. I mean, that must have been a real party. And but he starts telling me more about his life. But I'm out of the life. I'm not causing no problem, man. I've been in prison, shit like that. I'm out of life.
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
go, yeah. He starts talking to me. Because man, I'd love to be in movies, man. I want to be an extra. Like, yeah, because I've been an extra in life. I've been an extra at home, extra in school. I've been an extra all my life. I know how to be an extra. I could be an extra in this movie. He goes, because you in a movie, you live forever. You don't live forever in the streets. You
Oh,
live
wow.
forever. And that was a very telling thing for me to hear. In other
Mhm.
words, movies is preserving that man's life forever. And and you think about it, you don't age in a movie. You're the same person,
Mhm.
like a phantom, a ghost, and you live forever. In his life, he doesn't know, he doesn't have much of a future. And I know that. So like, I live forever, man. In the movies, man, I'm gonna live forever. I'm gonna give my life. I know how to be an extra. And he kept telling me, and I started hearing that voice, and I started writing a monologue for him. That's how I get my characters. I hear voices of people, and you see their lives, and
Mhm.
that's why, as Latinos, especially, you know, anyone's authentic in their life, they find their authentic self and they write it down. You're able to hear other voices and hear other people's life. And it's not judging their life, it's recording their life. It's not judging their life, it's looking at their life and having compassion for their life. That you're going to have their life. That little man will live on in a monologue or something else, or my imagination or what I write. But most likely, I don't know. I've never been back. Whatever happened to little man? Little
Mhm.
man. He's out of prison, living there. Because the strange thing is that gang member, they don't travel. They're like in the same hood the whole time. They're
Yeah.
right there. And I remember we were shooting another scene in the movie, and we actually leave the area. and we brought little man and the gang with us to play extras.
Mhm.
They're all really kind of very nervous, not speaking, nothing. And I didn't realize they had put other gang members from that area as extras.
Oh,
So
no.
we had two gangs being extras,
Oh my
playing gang
goodness.
members in this play.
That ain't cool, man.
That
That
ain't
ain't
cool, man. But
cool.
the best story was they had some guys that were, they're just Mexican, right? They weren't
Mhm, mhm.
gangbangers and anything like that affiliated. And they got dropped off on a street corner because they're going to shoot the scene in the street corner, but they drop them off. No cops, no, protection, nothing. And so
Mhm,
I
mhm.
saw the guys came back. This guy's like smoking a cigarette, all nervous. And man, this is not cool, man. I go, what happened? They dropped me off the street. These cops come up and go, "What are you doing here? Where you from?" And he goes, I'm just in a movie." And they just see where the cameras. He goes, "I don't see no cameras, man. I'm in a movie." And all of a sudden, these gangbangers roll up on him and going, "Hey, where you from?" He's like, "We're doing a movie. Where's the cameras?" And luckily they got out of there, but you saw the terror on that guy's face, and he's like getting paid
Oh
$60
my
to
goodness.
be in a really bad neighborhood at the wrong time. And stuff
Uh-huh,
happens there. I was shooting a movie called Red Surf with George Clooney, and I leave my area, and they have security around you. So
uh-huh,
I'm thinking about my character, and I'm dressed as this Cuban drug lord, and I've got
uh-huh.
a gun, it's holstered and everything.
Mhm.
And I'm walking out there, I hear pop, pop, pop. I'm like, that's weird. That sounds like gunshots, but I'm the only one shooting. Are they maybe they're rehearsing my scene? I'm not there. What's going on? So I'm concerned about me not making a scene. So I see a guy crossing a corner next to me, and he's limping. He's limping, and a guy's next to him, and he's shooting at him, just shoots
Oh,
him.
oh, no.
And then the guy takes the gun and points it at me because
Uh-oh.
I got my holster. And I reach for my holster, and he looks at me, and is that moment of going, man, is that guy for real? What is he doing here? And then he just
Is
turns
that a
around.
real cholo?
Yeah, and then shoots the other guy. Um,
Oh my gosh.
and the police were there, and I came with the police. Hey, man, call the cops. And there's been a shooting. And the cop just looks
Wow.
at me and he goes, man, that happens here all the time. I'm not even gonna call it in. And it was like
What?
cold. And that's a real story. That's really, and those are the moments as a writer you remember forever because
Wow.
there's so many different layers to that story that you
Mhm,
see.
mhm.
But me, Cuban gangster, that's why they call me named Calavera, street guy, running drugs from
Uh-huh.
surfers, Red Surf, George Clooney, in this film that Quentin
And George
Tarantino.
Clooney was with you in the film?
Oh yeah, he was in the movie. Yeah,
Oh, man, that's hilarious.
yeah. I went to his house and we hung out, and I'm playing a bad guy and he's playing a guy. It's a good guy.
Mhm.
Odd thing about it is the producers like, well, George is the good guy. I said, well,
Uh-huh.
he's a drug dealer like me. Was he good? Well, he's just a surfer. That's I go. So
Huh.
he's good. And I'm
Mhm.
bad.
Mm.
And that's the
Mhm.
bigger story of Hollywood of how they portray us and what they see. So
Interesting.
yeah,
Interesting.
it is interesting. But those are it's the truth, and talking about truth and reality is a powerful thing. In this world, there's a lot of untruth in the world.
Mhm,
That's just happening more and more now. People saying things it's not true,
mhm,
and they say the more you tell a lie, the more and more people will believe it. And a lie goes around faster in the world than the truth. So people
mm.
are telling lies. And as writers and artists and people are telling the truth, we need to, especially now, tell the truth, tell that story, and be brave.
Absolutely.
Do you have
That
another
was that
question?
that's a great story. I do have some questions, but I
Yeah,
have a few people that have some comments that I wanna share.
yeah.
Lisa came into the room. She said, "Hello, everyone." Jesse Stanton says, um, he's really enjoying this room. And my friend from Peru says, Rick Najera, cuando visitas a Peru para llevarte a escalar el Nevado. So he says when you come to Peru, he's
Yeah,
going to take you around.
that sounds good. Gotta get some ceviche.
Yes.
Oh wait,
Uh,
hey, wait. In Peru, do they cook guinea pig? Ask
I
them
don't
that.
know.
Ask them
I
that
don't.
question.
I'll have to ask him. Señor Oyola, hacen, I don't know how to say guinea pig in Spanish. Imma have get me the Spanish dictionary.
El guinea puerco.
El puerco de
El
Guinea.
guinea.
El puerco de Guinea. Oh my goodness, that's hilarious, my friend. That's my fr So, you talk about telling stories and how, um, you there's a lot of untruth. What has been the hardest thing that you've had to go through when, in being in Hollywood? What has been the hardest thing for you that you could talk about?
No, yeah, I'm an open book. And people can ask me any question. I think the hardest thing is the amount of prejudice you encounter in Hollywood, and it's
Wow.
just so known that they don't. There's a statistic that says that in 1992 there's less than 1% of Latino characters on screen, and I'm a writer, so I was behind the camera.
Mhm.
Imagine how small that statistic for me, and I've been in the business since '92 and wrote, and you know how rare it is for a Latino to work as a writer and a producer or director or anything behind the camera, but even and rarer in front of the camera. Right now, I think we're over a certain percentage of the. I think we're like say the uh, what is it? The movie that just came out, Wolverine and um,
Deadpool.
yeah, and 42% of that audience was people of color, Latino and Black.
Mhm.
42%.
Mhm.
Yet we're not. We're like maybe 26% of the population or 20% of the population. I don't know what the term is. We are equivalent of a over 2 point something trillion-dollar business industry that we've created everything. We build
Mhm.
everything.
Mhm.
We've fought in the wars. We've done everything. Yet somehow we're excluded from seeing ourselves on camera, and that was has always been the hardest thing. The struggle. I mean, sometimes I'm looking back on the struggle and going, "Why did I struggle? Why was it hard?"
Mhm.
I do have the ability to call myself Rick Rivers and never been a Najera, never have
Mhm.
done that. But I couldn't change my name. I just couldn't out of my own truth.
Mhm.
And it has been a much bigger struggle, a much harder struggle. And that's the thing you want because when you have to explain yourself and constantly and you don't know who you are or all those thousand things, a white guy in Hollywood doesn't have to do with that. You're just a white guy. Well,
Mhm.
oh, what kind of white guy are you? You're just a white guy. And you're part of the system a lot of times, and it's not as difficult. Whereas when
Mhm.
you're Latino, is a question. They'll say to a writer, "Well, we don't have a Latino role. That we have a character that you could write for."
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that small percentage in front of the camera affects your livelihood, and how our livelihoods are affected affects our families, affects
Yes.
our place. So the endless prejudice I've had encountered in Hollywood has probably been the worst soul sucking, you know, thing I've had to do of that to explain. Well, you see, there's many Latinos that have a degree. I
Mhm.
have a
Mhm.
BA and an MFA. I have 2 degrees. You
Mhm.
know, we're not. Why are we not seeing them? Or we're not
Yes.
seeing the doctor. Or when you write in a script, a doctor. Why does he have to be Asian or Southeast Asian, Indian?
Mhm.
That's how
Mhm.
casting goes. Why does that be that? So we're actually in this world where we're putting up these barriers to who people are and what they see,
Yes.
and we're back there, and it makes us feel complicit because we're part of it. We're
Mhm.
part of this industry. That's the hard part. Um, that it really is because I got in this business because I love characters and I love I start off reading Shakespeare. I was a Shakespeare
Mhm.
actor at the Old Globe in San Diego,
Mhm.
and just the beauty of his words and the writing. But Shakespeare was incredible. But there's also Lope de Vega, who's in
Mhm.
Spain doing the same work. So I wanted to hear that story and that. And a lot of times we are totally, as Latinos, uh, de, de, de what is the term? Denied. We're
Mhm.
denied. We're denied our story, or denied our ability to tell our story, denied of who we really are. And that's a
Mhm.
problem. And that is really hard, really hard. And the pain is there.
Yes.
And I can feel it right now. I'm thinking back on roles I've done and roles I've written, or
Mhm.
why a show you didn't get. If I wrote a pilot, I've written 4 pilots for the networks, and they would eventually, oh, we love this, we love it, and then we're not going to do it. Well, there's just no audience for Latino characters or show. It's not going to do well ratings wise. We can put on the black show or the other show, but Latino show, I don't think we're ready yet. And I realize I've let down 30 million Latinos when they turn me down, and I
Yeah.
because we're not telling our story, and
Yeah.
that's the part that hurts. Um,
Well, things have changed though, my friend, be
very
because
good.
well, no, not in Hollywood, but on social media.
Yes, social media has changed. That has been really good, but
Social media is the place where we could tell our stories. And Adi, who's in the audience, I think she might have had to leave. She did a research, and in the research, she said 87% of the people that look at social media are Latinos. So that's why I'll see some TikToks that are really funny, and it's I saw one that was really funny about this American girl, and she says, "I like Mexican guys, right?" And so it had millions of views, but and then the comments were like, "Oh, I'm gonna tell my abuelita about you. You're okay with me," and things of that. So that showed me that there's a big audience there.
yeah, there's a
So,
huge audience. A lot of times it's
mhm,
you want to you look at that and you go, yes, that social media has changed that, but also social media has also hurt us in many ways. The like right now there is social media where they'll go, oh well, this is going on. Like people actually believe that during the hurricane that happened,
uh-huh.
that that FEMA didn't have the money to pay and help with the hurricane because they spent the money on illegal immigrants. It's not true.
Mm,
But I
mhm,
was being told, so people go, yeah, look at the illegal immigrants; they're taken from Americans. Or another thing was told that reason housing prices are up is
mhm,
because illegal immigrants are saturating the market and they're buying houses. This isn't
mhm,
true.
mm-mm.
Corporations are buying houses, and
I
that's
saw that, yeah.
typically not illegal immigrants. And it's constantly fighting that story or that what they say about us constantly. That's
Yes,
what's taxing. And
yeah,
when that's the hardest thing is we Latinos have social responsibility because we're family people. And I think, my family, I need to tell their story. My family needs to be heard because I don't want someone to look at us anyway. And if a political leader says that Mexico's not sending their best people, they're sending their worst and all this stuff, and we're rapists and all these thousand things. Well, it's not true. You know, if I look at my own personal story, my father fought in World War II. He
mhm.
was in Vietnam. My brother was in Vietnam. My uncle from Boone, Iowa, Mexican, died in World War II in a Japanese prisoner of war camp.
Wow.
We've suffered.
Mhm,
We've suffered for this country that we love. I've gone overseas to entertain the troops. You know, I've done all those things, and when they look at me and they go, "Well, is he really an American? Is he
mhm,
really, all that?" It's
mhm,
it's it's horrible. It's soul sucking, and you feel the pain of that
mhm.
because we deserve to be in this country. We are this country.
Yeah.
There's Spanish spoken before English. Right now I'm in San Diego. San Diego. you know, we didn't just name the cities and leave.
Mhm.
We're here.
Yeah.
We're part of it. And a lot of times we're disenfranchised, not seen as part of it, or seen as the problem. And in truth, we are the solution.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Um,
I didn't mean to get it political and
well, we didn't mention any names, so that's a good thing.
yeah, I didn't mention any names. But if anyone
But
has any question about writing, I'm here.
yes, yes. Well, I mean, when you write, that's something that you start writing about things that you're passionate about, right? And that's
Yeah.
something that you're passionate about.
Yeah.
And so
Well, it's finding your purpose. Mark Twain said the two best days of your life: the day you were born, and the day you find out why.
Mhm.
I look at the day I found out why, and why for me, the purpose is writing. The purpose is telling stories, and I want to share that with other people that they can tell stories too. That's
Mhm.
why if reach out to Angela, send an email, and you can join my class. It's coming up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. So, what are some new steps that are you or actions that you're going to be taking? I want to mention something that's going on in San Diego right now. They have an improvisation class for Wednesday,
Mhm.
and I'm going to join it because I think improvisation is like playing. It's like fun.
Yeah, improvisation is good. Maybe I join the class with you because I like improv.
That would be fun. That would
Yeah,
be fun, and it's a free class, so that makes it even better, right?
better. That's good. I love being in San Diego. The food here is incredible.
Uh-huh.
It's like I go for a walk on the harbor. Um, I see beauty everywhere. It's a beautiful city. I mean, my family has lived in San Diego since 1910.
Wow.
So I go back long in the city. My grandfather practically started Logan Heights. He was a big güero, which means light, blue eyed from Chihuahua. And he bought the house on L Street. And someone came up to him, and my grandmother came, it was darker, with the grandkids and the children. And the guy says, "Are you Mexican?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, if you're a Mexican, I would have never sold you this house." This is years 1910. And he
Uh-huh.
goes, "Well, it's too late now." And that was it. And so I go to Logan Heights and I think of that story, and I think of my grandmother worked in the canneries, and I see the people around me, and I see, all the murals. And
Mhm,
the
mhm.
mural, there's a guy in the mural. I think it's Chuy Sanchez, or but I know him. I knew the people.
Chunky, chunky.
Chunky, yeah,
Uh-huh.
Chunky played at my wedding, and
Wow,
so
that is so cool.
there's a lot of stories, a lot of worlds that we want to tell, and that's why I like writing. I love writing, and I think I'd love other people to learn to love writing too and enjoy it. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it's a monologue or big story or a book or anything. It's just the act of writing and sitting down and writing something. That's the feeling.
Mhm.
It's not an assignment. Like, it's not you're going to high school and I always hear kids going, "I have to write." No,
Uh-huh.
the wording is, "I get to write." That's
Yes.
I get to write. I get to do. And then you're gonna get to do improv. That'll be a great thing too.
I get to play. I think writing is like playing too, because whenever you could use your creativity, for me, that's just a fun thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
funny, speaking of writing, Matthew Thomas wrote something really cute. He said, "I'm a güero." And Ravi Mandra says, "Hello, everyone." And Bella Tahar says, "Hello." And Miguel Angel Davila, he's my New Yorker, Puerto Rican.
Mhm.
He's joining us. He says hello.
Hello.
And, Esther Ulamwake, she says hello too. So good to see you, Esther. Thank you, Jesse. Uh, and yeah, I just wanted to say hello to those. Thankful for you guys being here today, listening to Rick Najera and his stories.
Hmm.
And I wanted to ask you, and
Sure.
because I think it's interesting to find out. I kind of know a little bit about what makes you stand out, but what do you feel makes you stand out from other people?
I I think the ability to be myself and to tell my story truthfully, and not judge myself or judge others. Uh, I think I have a great humility because I've died. I've had three brain surgeries. I was in a coma. I mean, once you get that part of your life where you have at the bottom,
Mhm.
everything becomes everything becomes um, an act of life, an act of joy. So in a lot
Yes.
of ways, I like when I'm walking and I'm walking down in the harbor and I see these beautiful boats and it's joyful. And I and I don't think if you've ever not experienced that, you may not see the world differently. You may not, if you've been close to death, you look at the world as a great privilege and a great gratitude for having this
Yeah,
opportunity. So I have great
absolutely.
gratitude, and I think the stuff that I used to think was good or want and all that stuff has kind of gone away. Um, I knew Jim Carrey. I worked with him in Living Color. And I saw an interview with him recently, and he was talking to me. He said, "I wish everyone gets a chance to give everything they want, and they'll realize it's not that big a deal." And they say the two worst things are wanting something really bad and not getting it, and wanting something bad and getting it. Well, in many ways, I've gotten it,
Mhm.
and I also realize how privileged I am to have this, and just it's it's really seeing life um, as joyful and a privilege. We only get to go around once.
Mhm.
I got to go around in a beautiful place, and I got to see some beautiful people, and I've had a very lucky life, and partially because I think I had it because I realized it from every single moment of it how wonderful life is. It's like life is beautiful,
Mhm.
and you want to experience it and live it. But your beauty comes from giving it back to others.
Yes.
Because if you're giving life and your experience back to others and hoping the best for them, it all comes down to love your neighbor as yourself, the greatest commandment. And after a while, that's the thing. When I came back from the death, I remember thinking, I will do no harm. I will do no harm. I will not
Mhm.
harm people. My life will be to give back. And not that I was a bad guy at all, but
You
but
were harming people before.
I wasn't harming people. But I was avoiding that. I was a good guy. That's why I got to come back because I was being a good guy. Um, I think it impressed me that when I saw someone in a wheelchair, I had been that guy. When I
Mhm.
saw someone that couldn't walk, I had been him.
Mhm.
When I saw someone in pain, I had been them.
Mhm.
And when you have that perspective, it changes everything. When,
Absolutely.
when I had my brain surgery, the first time I had my brain surgery,
Mhm.
and it's they don't go up they don't cut your head or something like that. I didn't do that. They actually go up your nose. That's to seal. For me, it was a encephalocele. I had a leakage of the brain fluid, the
Uh-huh.
spinal fluid, and they went up my nose. So I look fine. So but that operation, there wouldn't even been available till this year or these few years, and
Wow.
wouldn't work. So the fact that I needed one and survived it, and then did it 3 times, is a miracle. The fact I came back from death is a miracle.
Mhm.
So when that happens, you kind of think to yourself, well, why did I come back? What's the purpose? So you almost have an obligation to do something more. And
Mhm.
that's hard because you think, so you want to do your best all the time. But
Mhm.
that's what, um, that's what life is. You get that second chance. You want to pay it back and play it forward and all those thousand things because you've been given a gift. I
Yes.
hope people realize that. And I think, Jim Carrey talked about that. And I knew Jim working with him. Jim was, when I knew him, he was obnoxious, man. It was tough to be around him because he was always putting on a show and being a character.
Fire Marshal Bill.
I remember all those things. He would do that stuff. But um, he had insecurity, and I
Mhm.
recognized that. He was going through a hard time in his life. And
Mhm.
now he's got a life that's been that now he's got the things he wanted, and he realized that's not it.
Mhm.
Something
Mhm.
more.
Yes.
And that's the thing about getting everything you want. You start to realize there isn't everything here. Um, I once had a friend who was this billionaire, more money you can imagine. And she asked me, "What's it like being Mexican?" And I go, "Oh,
Mhm.
that's an interesting question." So I talked about that. I said, "No one's ever asked me." Then I said, "What's it like being really rich? Like so rich, there is nothing you can't buy."
Mhm.
And she said, "A lot of responsibility." She felt responsible.
Mhm.
So that was her burden.
Mhm.
So, and that's also what we do in life. We want to understand each other. Because
Mm.
if we understand each other, we see ourselves in that other person.
Yes.
And that's life. That's going out and getting that perspective. What God must have a perspective of people, of being able to feel everything in the world and see it and sense it
Mhm.
is God's perspective. But what does God want?
Love.
God wants compassion and love for people.
Yeah.
Love yourself, love your neighbor as yourself. That
Yes.
means that neighbor is important. See
Yeah.
yourself in your neighbor. And I don't mean to get philosophical, uh, or philosophize or any of that, but that's what writing is. You constantly think about what is this life we're in,
Mhm.
and I
Yeah.
don't have. Does anyone have any question? I know we
Well,
can.
there's a few comments. Sharon Burns says, "Life is a gift that should
Yeah.
not be taken for granted."
Yes. True. Very
And
true.
Luciano says, Santini, PhD, says, "I agree with Rick. We have to have a purpose in our lives and then ask ourselves why."
Why? Santini,
Mhm.
PhD. Wow. See, I got an MFA, and I would wonder why would I get a PhD? Because that's a lot. I don't know. That's that that's a great thing to get. Very few people have PhDs. It's like I think it's a small percentage of the world. So congratulations.
Yes. You know, I remember you telling me about your children's book that you wrote when you were in school, and I loved that book.
Yeah,
The balloons, right?
yeah. Well, I had a, that's why I talk about writing. Is I go, look, I'm a writer.
Mhm.
If I'm a writer, you can be a writer because I had ADHD and I had dyslexia. As I was flunked in school. They kept me behind. They flunked me. Was flunked in kindergarten or kindergarten.
That's
That's what I was flunked.
ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, they looked at me as they thought I was slow. I
Mm,
didn't talk. I was
mm,
polite, and I was in a very white school. And the teacher looked at me like, "This guy's his difficulties were flunking him, or keeping him
mhm,
behind."
mhm,
And that was very devastating for one person because now my class is going the rest of school, and I'm stuck in kindergarten,
mhm,
and very very hard on emotionally on your feeling of your self-worth. And a teacher took me aside. She started testing me, and she said, "This guy is really intelligent. This kid is intelligent." And they're well, if you're going to work with him, go ahead. And that was
uh-huh,
the student teacher. She wasn't even a full-fledged teacher.
uh-huh,
So she took me aside, and she'd say, "Tell me about your life,
uh-huh.
and tell me a story." So I told her stories, and she would write them down, and she would put it in a book with wax paper and cloth, and she'd bind it, and it'd be like a book. Get it. And the first story
Wow.
I wrote was called "The Colored Boy." It was a boy that changed into every color in the world, and no one knew what to do with him. No one knew how to feel about him, how to be prejudiced, because he was constantly changing. You didn't know what he was. It was his colors, and it was in colors. Simple story. This boy is walking down the street, and sees another boy who's all these different colors and colors and colors. And comes up to him. He's like, "Where are you from?" And the boy says, "I'm from this planet." And he names off this colorful planet. And he goes, "In this world, we love color and we love diversity. We love the strangest colors and we love all that. The more colors you have, the more you're honored." And looking back on that colored boy, I
Mhm,
realized the colored boy was me, that I didn't feel normal. I didn't feel part of this world. And I was all these different colors, and people would put on me who they thought I was. And they didn't
mhm,
know me. And that book was telling my story. And that gave me a lot of confidence and pride in who I was. And that changed my life. It was the first book I wrote, a book, 8 years old, 9 years old, called The Colored Boy. I found it in my mother's house. She never got rid of it. And so I still got the book, The Colored Boy.
You gotta make that book, man. That would be such a great book to read to the children
Mm.
of, and even for adults. It has such a deep story to it.
Yeah, no, it's that's what I'm talking about, telling the truth. You know, when you tell the truth, I think I'm very open with people and I'm very vulnerable.
Mhm,
And I don't think it's a weakness. I think it's a strength. And that's what I think is unique about me. Even when I'm on stage, like when I did stand up,
mhm.
I would just say, this is who I am. And
Man, that's rough though to do stand up,
oh yeah,
but
it's rough. But you know, it's also
it's an
not because
adventure though, right? It's an
well,
adventure.
you realize audiences want you to be funny. They
Mhm.
want to laugh. They
Yeah.
really want. So they're
Uh-huh.
not against you, they're actually for you. And once you start to realize that, you can talk to them and most people want you to be vulnerable. Vulnerability is brave. People see they see you get up on stage. It's like, wow, they couldn't do that. Oh my, I could never do that. You're on stage. And the when I was in Diego Garcia entertaining the troops,
Uh-huh.
all these troops, they're young, they're like 17, 18. We're
Mhm.
coming up and going, oh man, you're so brave getting up there, man. You're telling jokes. You're my hero. You're my hero. I think you get shot at. You're telling me horrific stories of being in war. You're the hero. I'm just telling jokes.
Oh, wow.
And but that's if you approach an audience that I like you, I want to be your friend, and I'm going to be tell you who I am.
Mhm.
All that stuff, people respect. People respect. They want you to succeed. Most people want people to succeed. It's
Yeah.
embarrassing to watch people bomb. It's
Yes.
happy to see people do good.
Yeah, I
So
think I think we all feel bad when we see somebody bombing. We want them to succeed.
yeah, want to
You
be
know what?
successful.
When you talked about that teacher and what she didn't just write your story and just put it on plain paper. She did something really special with that paper to make it look like a book. And I think that also had something to do with, giving you more self-esteem because you saw how she treated your work, right?
Yeah, I think when you see yourself, when people talk about themselves and are listened to,
Mhm,
you're automatically the hero of the story. So that goes back to writing. If you're telling a story, you're automatically a hero of the story. I mean, Huck Finn is basically some street kid from Mississippi, you know, living living on the streets. Tom Sawyer, Huck Finn. These guys are,
mhm.
they're they're the cholos of their day. Growing up in Mississippi. They're
I like
they're
the way you put that.
yeah, no, but it's true. There's
Mhm, mhm.
one guy's a rowdy kid, and the other one's not, and the one all this stuff. That was a car blowing up, but that's who they were. And
Mhm.
so you go and look when you tell a story, you don't have you automatically become the hero. When you tell a story, automatically the audience reading it, you become the point of view.
Mm,
It's empowering. So no matter who you are, when you're telling that story, you are the star of the story. And so that's what gives people self-esteem. When people don't see themselves, if you sat there and said, "This is America," and I'm showing you a cross section of America, and there's not a single person that looks like
mhm.
you don't have that self-esteem.
Yeah.
But when you see stories about people that look like you or are you or are related to you, you're like, that's my story.
That
And
is awesome.
that's really part of it. That's why it's so important. Like I teach in college every once in a while. And the way I think it's important because I'm Latino and there's only a small percentage of professors are Latino. So when you're looking at it, a student is looking at a professor, and if it doesn't look like them or sound like them or know anything about them, and it happened to me recently. I was in teaching a class. I was teaching writing, and
Mhm.
I taught this girl, you know, this young lady in my class, to tell your story and tell it truthfully. And I was encouraging her all the way. She gets up, tells her story, And the other teacher there goes, "Oh my God. So you're living in a car? Your father let you live in a car?"
Mhm.
And the girl just broke down tears, ran outside. And I
Mhm.
followed her and I said, "Hey, listen, I'm sorry." I said, "You're Mexican, right?" She goes, "Yeah."
Mhm.
I go, "Your dad did not know you were living in a car." She goes, "No, I had to pay my tuition. I didn't have the money and I had to do that. I would never tell my father I'd live in a car." And I said, "Why?" Because he'd have me move back into my home. He'd build me a house. He'd do whatever it took and have me not live in a car. But I needed to get my education. So
Mhm.
I knew what she sacrificed and what she was doing. And I
Yeah.
knew to have the cultural confidence and competency to understand what that girl was saying,
Mhm.
how hard it was for her. She was a hero,
Yes.
a shiro. And that was the amazing thing. And that other teacher doesn't know culture, didn't recognize how big a deal that was and how powerful that was and how much a hero she was.
Mhm.
She didn't have cultural competency. She didn't understand. And there's many teachers in college that are not Latino that don't know those things.
Mhm.
I think of how many kids maybe were not given the advantage or seen because they didn't understand them. Just like in kindergarten, the woman looked at me and said, "Well, he's slow. He doesn't talk much," not
Mhm.
realizing in Latin culture, it's disrespectful to talk like a
Yes.
teacher.
Yes.
It's disrespectful, and respect is very important to us. And people that are older than us, we tend to respect even more.
Mhm.
You're not going to see some Latino go kid tell their mom to shut up. It's just not going to happen.
No. No.
So that's our culture, and
Yes.
that's why we need people that know our culture to be teaching. And that's why I've enjoyed teaching and what I've wanted to do. And I don't come in as this is my cultural thing I had to do or whatever that,
Uh-huh.
because I
Uh-huh.
don't want to think I'm this big cultural ambassador because I'm not. But part of our purpose and part of how we make the world better is we show up.
Yes.
We're in that room. And you're like you with your work, you're showing up now.
Mhm. Mhm.
So it's been great to be on your show and to talk and
It's been
spread your
great to have you.
thank you. Thank you. Any last questions anyone ask?
Let's see. Dr. Constance says, "Hello, amazing brother and sister. This is such a wonderful space. Thanks for the invite, sis." And Henry says, "Thanks for talking about some serious and hopeful and instructional topics during the last gasps of Hispanic Heritage Month."
I think
Henry,
it's
I
I
like
think
your words that you use, Henry. You're so
I think
funny.
isn't it the first part of it, or is this the last part of it? We go from
Last next
September
week
to October. Yeah,
next week is is
last
the
week.
last part.
That's you be as Hispanic as you can be. You got only one more week of being Hispanic.
Mhm. George Jimenez says, "Yeah." He's talking about, how we're more quiet. He says, "Us Latinos are like that. It's the culture."
Mhm.
And, it's good that you mentioned that so people could understand. And then Miguel says, and then George Jimenez says, "That gets the slap." And Miguel, oh, that was George. And then Miguel says, "Bueno, ha ha ha." Oh, Jesse Stanton wants to know what are some of your future projects.
Oh,
We're
well,
gonna be doing the improv.
I'll come and join you at the improv. I wanted to be doing. I do a show called Latino Thought Makers where I interview Latinos in life and live, and I'll be doing one I think November 7th in Atlanta, Georgia, with Paul Rodriguez. And I've done many with Edward James Olmos and Danny Trejo and Cheech Marin, a lot of people. And that's a project. I have a play right now in Miami. Just closed, but we'll be opening again. And I want to turn that play and bring it to San Diego. So I'm looking for a place that, like a club or something, where I could do this interactive quinceanera play that I
Mhm.
love, and just keep working on films and projects and working. You know, I'm always looking for a job. Man, that's the life that an artist. But
And the writing classes.
yes, I want to teach a writing class. So if you email Angelica, she'll be able to put you on a list. And I'll reach out to you for if you want to take my course. I think it's a good course. I've taught for a while, and I promise it'll be fun, informational, inspirational, and a chance to be the more of you, be the better part of you, the more of you that writes. And that's what I want to see happen. I want to see more people writing. So thanks for checking in, and thanks for having me here, Angelica. Good night.
Good night. Thank you, my brother. Big hugs and
Thank you.
love. And thank you to everybody who made it tonight. We thank you so much for being here. And, you know, share the replay with everybody so they could get this information as well, because I thought is such a wonderful share tonight. And I appreciate you for being here with me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night. Are you here?